Today we're talking the top buys and sells for fantasy football ahead of week 11. I recommend watching the video all the way through because at the end I'm going to go into rapid fire mode to give you 3 bonus buys and a bonus sell. Also make sure you're using our trade calculator at yardsperfantasy.com to get the best deals on your week 11 trades. Let's go. My top buy for week 11 fantasy football is Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is underwhelmed from a fantasy football perspective for 3 straight weeks. He has scored 12, 11.5, and 15 fantasy points over that stretch. Prior to that, he was averaging 21.4 fantasy points per game, and he had 5 top 10 finishes. But his recent struggles aren't a product of him playing poorly. And the offense has been good too. They've scored over 30 points in 4 straight games. It's just been a fluky stretch that has seen 8 of the team's touchdowns come on running back rush attempts. It also included a 37-3 blowout win in which the starters were pulled early. All Jackson needs is some of that touchdown luck to swing his way, and he'll be right back to scoring as a top 5 quarterback. And the schedule coming up should allow for Jackson to be that guy, with potential shootouts against the Bengals and the Chargers before the bye week. Then they get the Rams, Jaguars, 49ers, and Dolphins. Buy low on Lamar Jackson from the manager in your league that is panicking, and enjoy the ride. I'm also trying to trade for James Conner ahead of week 11. James Conner returned from injury in week 10. He played 63% of the snaps and he took 16 carries for a modest 73 rushing yards. Kyler Murray also returned to the lineup in week 10, playing his first game since tearing his ACL in 2022. And Murray surprisingly didn't show any signs of rust, and he looked like the same spunky quarterback that we've seen for years. That's great news for everyone in the Cardinals offense, including James Conner. With more stability at quarterback, the offense should operate more efficiently in the second half, which will allow James Conner to get more opportunities, particularly in the red zone where he has thrived during his time in Arizona. Now, Conner didn't catch any passes in week 10, but his presence in the passing game should return. There's no receiving specialist in the Cardinals backfield to worry about, so it feels like the lack of involvement in that area in week 10 was more of a fluke than anything. Conner averaged nearly 4 receptions last season, but he's got only 8 so far in 2023. Those will come back now that Kyler Murray is in the lineup. James Conner has been a top 10 fantasy running back in each of his previous 2 seasons in Arizona. He has no backfield competition, and he has mostly a favorable schedule moving forward. Buy low while you can. And if you believe James Conner has a good day on the ground in week 11, then you can play this pick'em on Underdog Fantasy. Lock in your pick now or draft a whole starting lineup for week 11 on Underdog Fantasy and use promo code YARDSPER to get a $100 deposit match and a free mystery pick'em. Before the trade deadlines hit in week 11, I'm trying to buy any Texans that I can get my hands on. That's right, buy them all. How about CJ Stroud? CJ Stroud is giving us one of the most impressive rookie seasons of any quarterback we've seen ever. He's currently leading the NFL in passing yards per game. He has passed for 15 touchdowns and ran for 2 others. And he's only thrown 2 interceptions. And one of his most impressive feats is how well he's elevated the players around him. Probably the biggest critique of the Texans offense coming into the season was how poor their wide receiver core was. Nobody's saying that now. And sure, guys like Dell, Nico Collins, and Noah Brown, they've played well. But CJ Stroud has been a big part of why they are producing at the level that they are. Even tight end Dalton Schultz is exceeding expectations and he's scoring as a tight end 1. A lesson I learned a long time ago is in fantasy football, we want players in great offenses. And thanks to CJ Stroud, the Texans now belong in that conversation. So if I have some holes in my flex spot or I want to add some depth to navigate the next few weeks of buys, I'm targeting players in Houston. The Texans have already had their bye and everybody is eating. I'm prioritizing Dell, Nico Collins, and Dalton Schultz, but just about everyone other than CJ Stroud himself can be had at a reasonable cost. Just give me players in good offenses, man. On the topic of wanting to roster players in good offenses in fantasy football, we are seeing the opposite effect with the Giants. The Giants offense is bad. Like bad. Like really, really bad. Historically awful. Yet I've seen several fantasy analysts this week advising to buy low on Saquon Barkley. I'm here to ask you to please don't do that. I get that Saquon Barkley has the talent and he's getting so many touches. I mean, the Giants offense is basically Saquon at this point. But why would you want any part of this team? Tommy DeVito was one of the worst quarterbacks to step on an NFL field in recent seasons, And the defenses know it. They're just going to key in on Saquon Barkley and limit him in every way. In the next 4 matchups with the Commanders, Patriots, Packers, and Saints, they're going to be like 9-6 type of games. Very few yards, very few points, and lots of punts. Then the next game is against the Eagles, one of the toughest defenses for running backs in all of football. We're seeing a similar thing with Breece Hall with the Jets, except this is worse. And Hall has had a few moments, but he has no ceiling in that dysfunctional offense. When the offense can't move the ball, that limits the number of plays they run and scoring opportunities. Why would you go buy a guy in an offense like that? Don't torture yourself, avoid, and sell. Before we get to the bonus buys and sells for week 11, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has tuned into this series this season. With trade deadlines passing in most leagues this week, this will be the last buys and sells video of 2023. But I'm not going anywhere. I will still be posting a video every week to help you crush your league mates and take home titles. Stay tuned for a new series beginning after the Thanksgiving holiday. With that said, if you have enjoyed this content and you find it at all valuable, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And feel free to drop your trade questions in the comments. I'll try to get to all of them. Welcome to rapid fire mode. It's the bonus buys. And we're going to start with Josh Downs. Josh Downs was beginning to command targets at a high rate consistently every single week prior to his knee injury. Now, he still played in week 10, but he was clearly limited and didn't get a lot of snaps. But the Colts are on a bye in week 11. He should be back close to 100% when he comes back in week 12. And the Colts have a pretty favorable schedule coming up for wide receivers. Go buy this explosive young stud. I'm also buying Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is back. Now, I thought he was going to be really rusty. I mean, the dude hadn't played in a year, but he looked like the same old quarterback that we've been seeing in that offense year over year. He looked fast. He looked explosive as a runner. Arm looked sharp. He just looked like Kyler Murray. And we know Kyler Murray is one of these Konami code quarterbacks. And he did not shy away from running on that recovered knee. The Cardinals have a sneaky good wide receiver core, and they've got a good ascending tight end in Trey McBride. So the weapons are there. He's got some favorable matchups coming up on the schedule. If you need a quarterback, go buy Kyler Murray. He should give you top 10 performances from here on out. I'm also buying Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp has had some down weeks prior to the bye. Now, some of that was Matthew Stafford with his thumb injury. He missed a game. Brett Rippon is trash as a quarterback. I'm sure he's a good dude. Nothing personal, Brett. But we know who Cooper Kupp is. He's still having breakfast with Matthew Stafford, so don't worry about that. He's got a great playoff schedule for fantasy football. With the Commanders in week 15, they've been the worst secondary in football. Start all your wide receivers against them. And that's the Saints. And it's the Giants in the Fantasy Football Championship. Go buy low on Cooper Kupp, man. And for bonus sells, it's simple. Just sell all your Steelers. Kenny Pickett's bad. Najee Harris isn't good. The offensive line is not good. And while they got a good pair of wide receivers, the consistent production is absolutely not going to be there. The ceiling is certainly not going to be there for as long as Kenny Pickett is the quarterback. If I'm rostering a Steeler, I'm trying to get out. Hey, if you like that video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment on what you want me to talk about next. You can find all my stuff, my rankings, articles, podcasts, more videos like this on yardsperfantasy.com. Just download the Yards Per Fantasy app, and we thank you for your support.